morning, and thank you for coming out early on this autumn morning. Appreciate that you have busy days and giving up your time to learn about what's happening with the rating tool. We appreciate your commitment. Thanks also to our partners, Jib, Cavalier, Bremworth and Resine, for the rating tool, and I'll go through kind of how it came about and also the importance of the partners that are involved. But for us, having these three partners, I think is really appropriate. And I need to, on behalf of all of us, acknowledge Jo's efforts in keeping us to task and providing us with feedback, and she has brought this together. I note that it's now called the Resine rating tool on the signage, and that's really bloody good because Jo's done all the work to get this group around the country, and she's had a mixture of speakers from our side of things, so she's done a marvellous job. But I just want to acknowledge those three partners. For those of you who don't know, and Colin will go into this in detail, but I mean, Resine have kind of pioneered sustainability as a paint manufacturer. Their early work with developing waterborne paints, taking lead out of paint, their recycle reuse program. Jib, similarly, a long history in this space. They were one of the establishment members of Beacon Pathway and have kind of been close to our program over the last 6 years. Cavalier, Bremworth, and I need to acknowledge all three of these companies are New Zealand companies, New Zealand owned and operated companies. And I think that is something that we need to keep on supporting our local enterprise because that's what creates our jobs and drives our economy. Cavalier, Bremworth, natural product, fine carpet, so the message I'm trying to give you is the partners that we have in the program, I feel have got the right sort of foundations to drive the rating tool forward. And their support is critical to the successful introduction and development of the tool. And for us, from the kind of development side of things, the tool has become part of the conversation that we're having with industry around improving products, services and whatever. And I'm sure for you as designers or whatever roles you play in the industry, the tool will become part of that conversation that you have with your clients. And similarly, it becomes the basis for collaboration and working across industry and I think a new spirit of doing things. And, well, I don't think, I know, because this, for I think the three parties concerned that have brought the rating tool together is it's an unusual way for us to work. We've formed a joint venture and we've endeavoured to bring to bear the best of what we have across those three organisations. So with the Green Building Council, you have that competence in developing, introducing and managing rating tools. With brands, long history of robust science from durability to sustainability, building economics and beyond. And with Beacon, the focus on sustainable homes and neighbourhoods and the recent research over the last 6 years. Early origins of this kind of collaboration date back to 2007 in a workshop in Wellington, where we brought together a number of parties from across industry, local government and research to talk about what might be the logical development path for a rating tool and what did users want. So we had an architect, a builder and a council, and those three individuals were asked to tell the group what they wanted in the use of a tool. Now, these three individuals did not know each other and had never met before, but strangely enough, they came up with three things. Firstly, they said, can you keep this simple so it's easily understood not only by industry but by consumers? Secondly, can we build off what we have? I.e., don't start again from scratch, but the scientists would always want to start again from scratch. Great opportunity. And lastly, they said, can you keep it simple? And we want one tool, one simple tool. And that was a response to what was happening in Australia, where something like 10 or 11 tools across the states. a myriad of tools being used in the States and a number developing in the UK. So we've endeavoured to keep honest to those three principles. And let me just explain a little bit about why we might do this and why do we need a residential rating tool. And for those of you who are not, or who don't, not like me and spend your working life in the space of New Zealand's homes, a little bit of information in terms of the cold, damp, poorly performing nature of our existing homes. We've got almost 1 million homes that were built before insulation was mandatory, and then we have a considerable number of homes built between 1987 and 2000 where low levels of insulation only were required. And certainly mapping our housing stock in comparison with Western European and North American and even some of the Australian housing stock, we have third world type housing in terms of the coldness and the dampness and high resource use. We also have a kind of a lack of engagement, a lack of understanding by people either living in or buying or renting homes around the key performance components of a home. And I'd kind of just draw the parallel with a motor car, and when you go to buy a motor car, a second-hand motor car, would any of you consider buying a car without a warrant of fitness? No, no one. Yet when we buy a house, we spend a lot more money. It impacts much more on our health, and we have no measure. So there is this issue of a kind of a causal link between what you've got and what it might be, what the value and the performance of it might be. And lastly, there is a growing demand for, well, a growing understanding, and I think starting to drive demand, and for some time a demand for better information around what are the key components of home performance and how might you improve the performance of your home. This isn't just an issue with our existing houses. Work that Brands did 2 years ago indicates when new home buyers were asked whether the home met their perceived performance requirements, 40% said that the home fell short of their expectations.